All right, let's move on to our third team in this division, and that is the New York Rangers. It's been, a season that kind of started off well, then got ugly for a little while there. Chad, I know you had this hockey team missing the playoffs when we did our 2023 bold predictions episode a little while back, but they look like they're right back to the Rangers of last season. 62 points in 49 games, third in this division. Case, thoughts on the Rangers and your grade?
Just quickly, I still wouldn't bat away Chad's comment of them missing the playoffs in a tight division because they could slip fast. But
that's true.
I'm going to give the New York Rangers, and my bones hurt, an A- in this season so far. An A- because they're actually lower than where I had them in the preseason rankings, which was first in this division. They're in a playoff spot, and what I can say about this team, looking through Money Puck and a couple other websites, they are okay at everything. They're not great at anything. They're not bad at anything. They are okay at everything. The biggest outlier in the standings that I could find for them is they're second in rebound shots against. That's how hard I had to look for something impressive for this team. They're okay. Their D-core is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. They have two very solid pairings and a third pairing that they can kind of throw down to eat up a couple defensive minutes. It's resulted in a third best goals against in the league. That's probably the best stat for this team. A lot of that has to do with Shesterkin turning things around. There's a time where we were like, oh, but he's definitely turned things around. He's back to a .917 save percentage. So I can point the goals against to that and how physical this team is. But again, okay at everything. The negatives is they lack scoring and their power play is pretty mediocre. But again, okay at everything. Third in this division. That's an A-.
Yeah, I mean, it's a B+ for me, and Harper, you alluded to it. I did have them missing the playoffs as a bold prediction for this season, and that was only, a month ago, maybe, when we did that episode, just doing some random hot takes, because at the time, they were on a bit of a skid, and I think Money Puck had them at about a 55% chance to make the playoffs. And also at that time, Igor Shesterkin was not looking hot. Like you said, Case, there were times where we looked at him and it was, what's going to happen here? Because as we know, they're a team very similar to the Nashville Predators, the Winnipeg Jets, and a couple others in there who are so heavily reliant on their starting goalie to steal games. And over the last month or two, Shesterkin has improved tremendously, and he's back up to, again, being one of the best goalies in the league in my favorite stat, goals saved above expected. He's currently 6th in the NHL, and I believe when I had that bold take, he was outside the top 20 and not looking good. But all that being said, I'm giving them a B+. They're a below average team in expected goals percentage. A guy like Kreider has fallen off as well, but they do have some guys like Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, Adam Fox, of course, all having pretty good years. Trocheck in there as well, maybe Philip Hedl, as well.
Yes.
And also, one of my biggest gripes with this team over the past couple of years has been the fact that they don't play their young guys enough. Well, Hedl is one of their young guys. He is playing a lot more. And Lafreniere and Kakko are both playing about 15 minutes a night. And they're both producing at about half a point a game, which is, you would like to see a little bit more. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I can't give New York an A grade. But I think a B+ is fair because this is pretty much where we expect them to be, I think, in the standings.
How much I saw this symbol, I'm fingering out greater than. Capo Kakko greater than Jack Hughes.
Oh,
yeah. Where are you now? Where are you now?
Yeah, that one of those players could be moved at the deadline if they really want to upgrade and go for it. Because like you mentioned off the top, Harp, they need scoring. In case, like you said, their power play isn't very good. And last year, their power play was one of the best in the league, and that's why Chris Kreider was able to score 52 goals. This year, I think he's on pace for under 40. So, they could use the scoring, and maybe one of those players gets shipped out the door because they still have, some value. But yeah, B+ for me.
Yeah, I'll give the Rangers a B+ too. There's been a lot of inconsistencies with this hockey team throughout the season, and yeah, like a while ago we were saying that, well, it's Shesterkin, and when he's not on his game, all of the blemishes show with this team. Even though there's the whole thing with Gallant and the young players, it looks like Hedl, like you guys mentioned, and Kakko are the two that are really starting to find themselves. Lafreniere is the guy for me who is kind of outside those two and a little bit behind Kakko and Hedl, in my opinion, still trying to find himself. We know that if this team wants to go and acquire Patrick Kane, for example, from the Blackhawks, that it's going to be one or the other, Kakko or Lafreniere, attached to that deal. We would think, at least, that's what Chicago would want. So they just got to figure out their roles a little bit, keep letting those guys grow. Kravtsov is another one, obviously, but Gallant has been able to find some nice roles for other players as well. Jimmy Vesey, who got a contract extension, he's turned into a really nice bottom six player back with the New York Rangers for the second time, as we know, of course, and has kind of had to reinvent himself. He's not going to come in and be that offensive threat that he once was when he was at Harvard. So he's really reinvented himself. And Keandre Miller, extremely underrated defenseman on the blue line. I know a lot of the talk is about Fox and Trouba, but not enough talk about Keandre Miller. He is a really good defenseman. And then in the net, a lot of talk about Shesterkin. Obviously, he gets a lot of the headlines and everything, but Yaroslav Halak is not having a bad season either. This is I keep hearing from videos and stuff that I've been watching, just discussion on the Rangers, that this is probably the best hockey that Halak is playing in the last in probably 3 years. He's been a decent backup for them. So all in all, pretty good. Got to give them a B+.